Now I know what you're thinking. Did this dude really just upload a video? Well, the answer is yes. And I know it's been a really long time since I posted a video. It's actually been about 4 months since I hit upload on a brand new video. And that seems like it was ages ago, but I promise you I've got a really good excuse as to why I haven't been uploading so much. I've had a lot of life going on. I finished up school, I graduated, can't talk still. I graduated, I got my bachelor's degree, and I also started a brand new business in between those two things. It's been taking up so much, so much of my time. But I miss you guys, and I feel like I've been just so far from you guys and so distant from you guys, but I really wanted to give you guys a video. Now, since I haven't been uploading videos like I used to be, or even content on my Instagram, Polaroids, I figured I would share with you some of my favorite Instagram photographers who shoot particularly like in Polaroid medium. I wanted to share those with you so that way you guys can follow some cool accounts that are doing some really cool things with Polaroid photography. But you guys remember the drill. If you're new here, this channel is really all about Polaroid photography. So if that's something that you're into, definitely hit subscribe. Tell me what you think about this video. And also in the future, I'm gonna share with you guys kind of the ins and outs of my life and things going on with the business, because I think some of those things can apply to your life if you're trying to start a business, whether it be photography, creative, whatever it may be. I think I've been able to kind of gather some knowledge and gain some insight, and I would love to share it with you guys. So let's get into the video. Now, before we get started, this list isn't like in a particular order. It's not a ranking system. These are kind of just like the top 5 photographers that I've been looking to or have looked to in the past for inspiration. And I'll also include, a little bit about what each photographer does that I think makes them special, that makes them unique. So the first account I want to talk about is an account called James Tinelli, or Tinelli. I'm sorry if I butcher any of your guys' names or Instagram handles. I apologize, my bad. James Tinelli's account is really cool. Let me tell you, he is probably one of my favorite portrait Polaroid photographers. If you scroll through his feed, you can instantly see that when he's taking a portrait, there is something so unique and special about it. I really like the way that he uses light. He uses a lot of natural light with his subjects, and it's really beautiful. He gets a lot of great detail and sharpness in his shots, but there's also at the same time, again, it's just this soft, hazy light that usually hits him. One thing that's unique that I think that he does really well is if you'll notice when he's shooting with a model, usually he'll shoot indoors. He keeps 2 things very simple, and I think this is important for photographers who are working with instant film, and maybe you're feeling how come my photos aren't punchy, or they don't have just something that's missing. These 2 things I think will help you out a lot. He uses a simple background, like a white wall or a solid wall, most of the time with just one window. And he also has his subject in something simple as well. So whether that's a white solid shirt or a black solid shirt. And I think what that does is with the combination of the simple background and the simple outfit of the subject really allows you to kind of focus on the subject's face, and it kind of draws your eye more near to their face and the features and details in their face. And yeah, I mean, it's an amazing, just an account to me. Depending on what the time of the day that he's shooting, it can really completely change the whole mood of the photo. And even in some of his photos, you can see those pesky Polaroid light streaks that we get, and they're just beautiful. So James Tinelli, you got to follow him on the gram. Coming in at number 2 dose is a guy named Ari Lieberman. Now, Ari is a guy that is a fellow San Diegan. I've only had the pleasure of meeting him once, and it was actually at an event where my business, I sell vintage clothes. We were at this event vending, and he was actually there selling a bunch of Polaroids, and we were talking, and everything was cool. And I was like, oh, dude, I follow you on the gram. And he was like, oh, I follow you too. It was a total bro moment. But one of the things I like about Ari's photos is he does street photography with his Polaroids, which honestly, unless you've done it, it's not the easiest thing to do. And not just street photography, he does street portraits with Polaroid. Now, shooting street photography is challenging in it of itself, but to do it with a Polaroid camera, it's not like you're just pulling out your camera and you're and then you leave. You're gonna go and then in somebody's face, and there has to be a special relationship and a conversation usually with somebody before that happens, because now you actually have this physical print. And so getting street photos with a Polaroid, it's in its own class. But what I do like about his photos, I think he shoots a lot of these with an SX70, but he shoots a lot of black and white. And the thing that's important about that is when you're shooting black and white photography, especially with film, you really have to rely on your composition. You know, yes, one of the cool things about shooting Polaroid is the tones and the washed out colors that you get a lot of times with film. But with the black and white photos, you have to make sure that your composition is nailed. Otherwise, your photo can look subpar. And he does a really, really good job of composing his subjects. And he does a really good job of just kind of featuring like life around San Diego. And I really, really dig it. Ari, give that guy a follow. Number 3 is an account that I wish would post more, but they don't. But what they do post or have posted, I've really, really enjoyed. The handle is called Instant Lair or Instant Lair, and it says he's based out of Shanghai, China. I don't know the guy, we've never talked, but his photos are super dope. There's a handful of these photos that he has on his account that really use like geometry and geometric lines and leading lines that make for some really, really cool photos, especially some of these with like staircases and like the rail and some balloons. Like he uses these shapes within his frame that I really, really like. One of the things that you can take away from this guy's photos, his accounts in particular, if you're trying to maybe stuck in a rut with your Polaroid photography, what he does well is he fills the frame. So like rather than shooting something like in particular, when he's out shooting these like staircases or these railings, you know, it extends from one end of the photo all the way to the other. And that can really create some cool lines and some cool textures within your photos that not a lot of people are doing. I mean, he's one of the very few. And so I think if you're if you're stuck in a rut, try that out. Try shooting like shapes and patterns and textures, but fill your frame with as much of that as possible. And I think you'll be happy with some of the prints that you make. Number 4 is an absolute favorite of mine. It's Polaroids of People. And that account is run by a photographer and he goes by the handle pv.ny, and I'll list them both here. But Polaroids of People, it kind of just is what it says. You know, there's a lot of content on the page, and it really just started out of him taking photos of people on the streets of New York City. Now, here's a couple of things that like are no-brainer. Polaroids, 1, New York City, 2, then the people of New York City. Like you can't go wrong with those photos. But if you're into color and you're into punchy and contrasty just photos, this is the account for you. But another thing that I really enjoy about Polaroids People account is like they do a very good job of mixing Polaroids with like art. And every once in a while, they'll do some really cool things. We'll actually have artists, you know, submitting work, and they'll do like work and mixed media things, or prints and painting and things on top of these Polaroid photos. And it's one of the coolest things. It creates some really cool and interesting things that you didn't think that, you know, a Polaroid could look like. Also, what they do is they do feature a lot of artists within the city that work in the Polaroid medium, and they're a really great resource if you're on the East Coast or if you're in New York City and you want to go check out some like photographers, or maybe there's some shows. They're always like the first in news when it comes to different artists who are having shows and pop-ups and exhibits and galleries within the city. And you know, dude's a great guy. He works at Polaroid all the time, and really great resource. And if you're not following that account, you definitely should. And last but certainly not least on this list is an account called Into the Polaroid. Now, if you want to get super inspired, or if you want to know how to shoot lighting and like actual lights on buildings and neon, there's no better account, I promise you, than this guy's right here. He gets so much detail in these photos of shooting these old signs, whether it's in Las Vegas or downtown LA. He has literally mastered the art of shooting neon within the city and getting it sharp and punchy. I mean, it blows me away. Even just now looking at these photos again, neon, you know, obviously is like an art form in and of itself, but then just trying to capture that on you know, film, and that Polaroid particularly, it's tough, and he does a really good job. Him and I, we actually spoke a couple times via Instagram, and one of the tips that he said that helps him out the best is you gotta stick that camera, you gotta stick that Polaroid on a tripod, and obviously like a cable release helps as well, but you got to get that camera, especially in low light situations, you got to get that camera as still as possible to get a really sharp, crisp shot when the sun has gone down, because all you can rely on is kind of, you know, the exterior light or the light from the subject that you're shooting, and that camera not shaking whatsoever. But if you're on his page for more than, you know, a couple of seconds, you'll begin to see, I mean, he shoots symmetry really well, and he also does these cool photos with these, you know, polarizing filters that kind of like give geometric shapes to the lens. And yeah, like anybody can do that, right? But he'll do a portrait with that, and the detail that's inside that, it blows you away. Again, anybody, again, can just slap on a lens filter and call that a photo. But he's getting a super crisp portrait, and then having that polarizing or that lens filter on there, it creates this dynamic, super detailed portrait that nobody else is doing. Yeah, into the Polaroid, man. Like the way you capture light, it literally goals for real. Like, so good. Well, there you have it. I hope you're inspired. I hope this is kind of give you some inspiration for maybe your Polaroid work. Maybe you've been stuck in a rut. Maybe you just kind of haven't felt inspired. Check out these accounts. Look at what these people are doing, because they are absolutely killing it right now in the Polaroid world. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Again, I know it's been a really long time since I put out a video, and if you actually watched this video and made it all the way to it, and you know, you're my peoples. I really appreciate you. Thanks so much. Until the next video, take care.